we decided that we have to answer the question, did draft launch 2022 raise $445,000? Through our analysis here, you will have that answer yourself. Let us look at these figures here as those who were for this draft launch could snap the screen, the screen of their tallying board and send it out to us. Draft launch. Remember, the draft is the short form of the award. It is the third phase of our Ambazonian winning revolution. It is the handiwork of Dr. Sako, which we are grateful for. Draft was initiated in 2020, and it has served as budget for this war. But the draft launch itself is not the draft in reality. And that is why we want to answer the question, did the draft launch raise $445,000 or more than $445,000? Draft launch is and has always been an estimation. It is not the draft in reality. Draft launch is and has always been a projection, not the real money raised. An amount of money projected or estimated have always fallen too short of what is expected. That is why at the end of each drafting season, it is always very difficult to give you figures. How much was collected? How much was paid in? How much was not paid in? If we take, for instance, draft 2020, in draft 2020, the estimation or the projection was around $1.2 million. We got far less than that paid in, or like the word they were using, repatriated as the draft money. In 2021, the draft launch estimation or projection was around $800,000. We got far more less than that paid in as actual draft money. You will see that in 2021, it was around $400,000 less than, or 3/4 of what we had in 2020. Then in 2022, the one in question, the one we are analyzing, is around 1/4 of what was estimated in 2020 and 1/3 of what was estimated in 2021. 2022 set in with a lot of misunderstanding among Ambazonians or among those who were under Dr. Sako at the time. The worst thing the draft has suffered in 2022 is that there are few draftees. few people who support the draft modalities, few people who trust the draft leaders, and everyone, almost all Ambazonians wants accountability. You can imagine if there was accountability for draft 2020, draft 2021, a lot of people would have come in 2022 to draft, because it is a budget for the war, and it is showing the passion Ambazonians have for this war. A lot of people would have been coming in. If there was that accountability, it would have been the right thing. But what is happening in 2022 is that nobody wants to draft again to the same people. And the worst thing is that a good chunk of those who supported drafts break away. And I'm going to analyze that to show you the figures. Another worst thing is that only a handful of people are still in their LGAs and in their counties that are still with Dr. Sako and drafting for him, because it is no secret again, Dr. Sako has no fighters on the ground. That's the reality. It is just here and there trying to claim, divide and rule somewhere here and there, but it is not going. During our discussion panel before this presentation, an example was given of what happened to money under Dr. Sako, that sometimes you don't have good explanation like the draft. When Field Marshal Nopiti carried out his first action at the Sapga Hill, money was raised for Nopiti, or Field Marshal Nopiti. And close sources to him says that he never received that money. I know people will say that, or vouch that the money was sent to Nopiti. But who do you believe, the receiver or the sender? Because somewhere along the line, or somewhere in between, there is a missing link. The money might have been taken out of the treasury or from where it was raised and saved. But at the end of the receiving point, he did not receive the money. Take, for instance, another money that was raised after the demise of Major General Isubu. The money was raised. But not all the money was used, and it was used for a different thing. So, draft 2022 has fallen short with a lot of things. If you look at draft 2022, and you ask the question, was the draft launch, that is draft 2022, raised $445,000? Let me take an example, Bowie County, where I belong, or where I can say a lot. If you look at this tally here, you will see that Bowie County drafted in 2022 $14,000. Now, in 2020, Bowie County had around 23,000 draftees who, when they drafted 1,000, should have come up to 23,000. And then Ambazonians on the draft day supported Bowie County, and the total draft for Bowie County in 2020 was around $42,000. In 2021, Bowie County came up with around more than 40 names, which is, if each individual in Bowie County at the time, or 2021, drafted $1,000, it should have come up to 42,000, and Ambazonians came out, supported Bowie County on the day of the draft, and Bowie County drafted around $64,000. But if you look at Buick County in 2022, the projection, it tells you that there are only 14 people in that county. To be very honest with you, what I know about Buick County is that what they call the think tank had always, it has always had, it was always made up of 15 members at most. But if you look at this tally here, you will see that one person dropped. What I am telling you here is the honesty of the whole thing, and I have good proof to tell you that what I'm telling you here is what is in place. It says Buick County drafted $14,000. That is, there are 14 people in the county who, when they draft $1,000 each, it will come up to $14,000, far less than the 40 or 42 members in 2021 or 23 members in 2020. Honestly, in Buick County, there are only 3 people, I repeat, only 3 people in Buick County that are still in the county under Dr. Sako. There are only 3 people. There are only 3 people. I'm reiterating this because I mean it. And these 3 people has 1 or 2 people shaky. The county chair and Dr. Yaya. And then Elvis Kofefe, or Captain Elvis as they call him, or Elvis Kojika. There are 3 people there that are for Dr. Sako. Now, how did Buick County come up with 14 names? It is easy to explain. These 14 names are gotten because the people that are no longer with Dr. Sako are still hanging in there in the think tank, in the Buick County think tank. They are still hanging in there. They have not taken themselves out, or they have not been kicked out. So when the county went to the list of those who are still hanging in there, even those who have openly expressed their support somewhere else, or expressed their support for Lady Maranta, they still took their names because they are still in the Buick County that was formerly under Dr. Sako. They took their names and tally all of them there that are in this think tank. They came up to 14, and then they said Buick County will be drafting 14,000. That is to say, in effect, if Buick County were to go for a draft now, only 3 people will actually be in reality to draft. But as for the case of the county chair, Shea Yimbo, or the so-called county chair, Shea Yimbo, I have doubts, I have questions. And I reserve my comments for that. I don't want to put that out. In actuality, it shall only be, I don't know, but it shall only be Elvis Kofefe that will draft. But that's somebody that don't contribute or don't draft. He doesn't even remove money from his pocket. So, maybe Dr. Yaya will do that. So there are only 3 people. In reality, there is nothing. Buick County will have nothing. And where would they get money for draft? It is just that they will come out with this flash. This 14,000 figure. put it in front of the said draft, and then Ambazonians will chip in. Ambazonians will chip in. And then they will take that, what Ambazonians have chipped in, and use it, or it goes for whatever, wherever the 2020, 2021 money has been going. Because to be very honest with you, from Bui County, and so passionate that I am for this revolution, I cannot tell you where Bui County draft money from 2020, 2021 has been going. And I believe this war shall end one day. And when it shall end, we shall follow up and see where the money goes. At one point, somebody said that in wartime, there is no accountability given. But we shall follow the money. Because we have a lot of evidence, or evidences. We have a lot of evidences. What has been happening, where some people have been sending the money, or we don't need that here. But what I am saying is that, saying that Bui County shall draft, or has drafted 14,000 is the big lie, because there is nothing there. There are only 3 people in Bui County that are still for Dr. Sako. And out of these 3 people, one of them, Elvis Kofefe, or Elvis Vekijika, or Captain Elvis as they call him, is somebody who doesn't draft, he doesn't remove money. He accepts, he put his name there. He says he will give the money. At the end of the day, there's no money. So if you want to look closely, it might only be one person. And then they will use that to get monies from Ambazonia, from other counties, and then say that Bui County has drafted. There is nothing, there is no there in Bui County. Let us again look at this tally sheet here. If you look at Boyo, the projected draft, or the estimated draft in Boyo is 21,000, which is to say there are only 21 people there. But if you think of Boyo's statistics in 2021 and 2020 and 2021, there were more than 21 people. If you go down to Ndonga and Mantung, for 12,000, it tells you there are only 12 people there. And honestly, this is what is happening. When the draftees, or when the draft leaders went to their county in the groups that everybody was still there, when everybody was still under Dr. Sako, since people moved, some fall back and do not belong anywhere. Some went to Lady Maranta and are now with her. They did not come out of the former group that was still 100% under Dr. Sako. Their names are still there. They have gone in there and taken their names. If they have taken their names, and then they have tallied it up, and they have projected, or they have estimated that they are going to pay $1,000. And that's why they have put it there. And that's why when you go to a place like Ndonga Mantung, you will have $12,000. If you go somewhere like Minchung, you will see that there are only 14 people there. But at first it used to be more than 14 people. If you go to Ngoketunja, it tells you there are 28 people, that's why they have $28,000. If you go to Lebia Lem, I am shocked with the number in Lebia Lem. Because from what I know is that under Dr. Sako, Lebia Lem will be 0. It is a fact. Lebia Lem will be 0. The people of Lebia Lem so loved Field Marshal of the Red Dragon. And they are the people that started asking questions a long time ago. Where is the action? Where is the money going? What has happened to draft 2020? What has happened to draft 2021? And no answer was coming. A lot of people started falling behind before the big breakaway that Cristiano came and took away everybody. If you go to Manuel, it tells you that there are 37 people, and that's why they will be drafting 37,000. But in actual fact, if you go in there, you see people that are no longer with Dr. Sako, that are still sitting in the group. If you go to Mezam, the case of Mezam might be different. Yes, they might still have some people because the majority of Mezamites were in leadership role or were in the government of Dr. Sako. Yeah, they might still be hanging there. If you think of Mr. Erika Tay, you think of the guy who was supposed to be with, what's his name running away from my head? Be with Lady Maranta. They are still there. So having that 37,000 people, having that 114 people in Mezam is not surprising to me. But in actual facts, in actuality, they are not up to that. Even half of that they don't have. I can say this for a certainty. A lot of people have been grumbling. I talk to a lot of people. A lot of intelligence, we get it too. Then we go to Momo. $117,000 for the projection or the exhibition of the draft 2022. In reality, we don't have up to 117 people in Momo still. Well, Ma Irene is from there, maybe not. Then in Fako says 36 people. 36 people in Fako might be correct, might not be correct. But if you think of people in Sako, somebody like Jacob, that's somebody like Mr. Nancha, you should have expected them that Dr. Sako, as the then leader of the Ambazonian revolution, was from the same country with them. They would support him, but they were not there. If those can go, and then you imagine how many would have followed them. So there is something, or there is no there. Then you come over to KMC, that's Ndonga, okay, Kupengwaneguba. The actual reality in Kupengwaneguba is that when there is a meeting in Kupengwaneguba now, under Dr. Sako, or when Dr. Sako was making visits to the county, I'm still going to come to that for Bui. Around 4 people attended this meeting from the county or from the LGA. They tell us they have 19. Then you look at Mimi, only 7 people, 7,000. And then you look at Ndian, only 2.5 people, 2,300. Because draft is 1,000. When you multiply 2 by 1,000, you have 2,000, and then 300. Where the 300 is from, maybe they have a generous person in Ndian that is going to give 1,300 for them, or maybe some people draft with their children. That's why they have it there. This is the reality of the draft launch. And when you tally this up, as it was tallied on that day, you come out with this figure, 445,300. This is an estimation, a projection. It is not the real amount of money raised. And honestly, for them to have half of this money or 1/4 of this money, it shall be very difficult. It shall be very difficult. Now let us go back to Bui. If I go on, Bui says they have 14 people there. If I go, I hope I don't reveal something big here, but I always want to keep secret. If I go to Bowie, and I go to the 12th of May, that's last month, Dr. Sako was supposed to visit the county. There were no people in this county to fill up responsible positions during the county meeting. I know we did not follow up to get whether this meeting was held or not, but from what we have, it shows that there was nobody. And the only, when I had this discussion, the only name that was mentioned here was that of the so-called county chair, Shea Yimbo, that was the only person that was supposed to be present at the meeting. If we look further down, like in Fako, when Dr. Sako was visiting Fako for the preparation, not Fako, non-Donga Mantun, like Fako, when he was visiting Fako, all positions of responsibilities were filled. If you went to the opening prayer, was supposed to be given by Reverend Leonga, the minutes of silence was supposed to be given by Ma Eli, the anthem was supposed to be sung by Comrade Sylvester. And that is for Fako. So that's why we say for Fako, some sons and daughters of Fako are still with Dr. Sako. That's the reality of it, and that's why you have that number there. That's why you have in Fako 35 people. They might be genuine, it might not be genuine. But to say that in Mezam they still have 114 people. In Momo they have 117 people. It's shaky. It's shaky. It's shaky. Very, very shaky. Very, very shaky. So, to conclude, did the draft 2022 or did the launching of the draft 2022 actually raise $445,000? Our answer is you draw your own conclusion from our analysis. If you have not followed us very well, then go back and listen to this analysis. Follow it up the way we have put it out, the way we have explained it. But know that this draft launch that's happened under Dr. Sako was or is an estimation or a projection. It is not draft in reality. For some reasons, one member of our panel was saying that we should give ourselves the benefits of doubt and see whether in the next 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, the draft proper would have started. People might locked in. But to tell you that there are people in the county or in the LGA that will draft so and so amount of money is a fallacy. That is a big lie. We don't have people there like that. Ambazonians who are outside or who are supporting people in other counties and in other LGAs, they can come in and support. And the question at the end of the day for all of us will be, where has this money been going to? When I say this, I feel the pain there because I belong to some groups that are actually affecting Ground Zero, and Ground Zero is acknowledging, though this group or they say that we should not come out publicly, but they affect ground zero, acknowledge receiving what they send. And they have been doing this. I belong to a group that has been there since 2018. When we started and people were scrambling and people were seeing things that people were doing, and then they say, no, let us group ourselves and see what we can do.